Right, I heard there are huge problems about the immigrations and refugees in Europe right now. And could you tell me about what's going on? Because you're from Europe, right? So I guess you probably understand what's happening there.
Well, I'll try. I guess you could say immigration in France became a problem in the late 70s when they started coming in from Eastern Europe and Northern Africa. And anyway, the French people were getting a little bit fed up with it and even angry.
I see. So basically, people weren't happy that these foreign people are coming in to the country. Okay.
And yeah, you could say that for sure because, well, there were two reasons. The first reason was taxes. The French people were paying taxes for these immigrants coming in, and they were saying, you know, what are we getting from the immigrants' country in return? So they were upset about that. The second reason was the local economy. The people were coming in, the immigrants, and it was difficult enough getting jobs as it was. And now the immigrants were taking away their jobs. And so the French people, they weren't too happy about the immigrants taking their jobs and competing in the job market.
But when they come in to do the job that French people didn't want to do, like for example, in my country, the United States of America, we had lots of menial jobs, right, that people do not want to do. So we really need, these immigrants to come and do this kind of work, right? So I would say just let them come, right?
I'd say I agree with that, but a lot of French people don't see it like that. And you know, now you have like a lot of, you have different kind of immigration now. A lot of immigrants now are coming from different places into Europe and France.
Okay.
And they're trying to escape, flee the dangers of war and terrorism in their country. And you know, these immigrants don't have papers, the proper papers to come in. So actually, they're illegal.
Okay.
And they're even coming in by boat now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are your feelings about these refugees then?
Well, you know, asylum seekers are really desperate men, women, and children. And you never know, we could be in their situation one of these days. It's quite possible. And they haven't left their country by choice. They've been forced to leave because of the war, the terrorism back in their home country.
So would you say, does everybody in France welcome them to take France as their new home?
No, not everybody. Some people think it's bad for the French culture, the local economy, and well, even for France itself.
I guess that's because a lot of these refugees are Muslims. And so people would say it would be better if they really go to Muslim countries instead of going to France. But actually, these different cultures enriching the French culture because they are bringing their own culture, their music, and their food and traditions to France as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that, you know, as French people immigrate across the planet, I think that the favor should be returned.
Okay.
You know, from the immigrants' countries, and we should feel welcome. I myself have lived in a number of different countries, and I've always felt welcome. So, if people want to come to France to live or to work in safety, then you know, let them come. I say, I think we should be proud to have different kinds of people living in our country.
So basically, the population is definitely divided, right? So some people are for the immigrants and some people are against these immigrants then.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
And I would have to say the biggest problem maybe is the smugglers who are making a lot of money out of this, and they're really exploiting the immigrants' vulnerable situation.
Yeah, I think this, human traffickers is always the problem we are talking about. So I guess that's what the government, need to deal with then, with the smugglers. So So hopefully they will have a better future in France. Okay.
Yeah, I hope so.
So welcome. That's our unit, right, for immigration and the movement of human labor. So here is Paul. Paul, introduce yourself. I'm Jeannie. So welcome back to our MOOC unit. So Paul, you probably find lots of immigrants in Taiwan. We probably see lots of immigrants or migrant workers, right, from Southeast Asia to Taiwan. So do you have any observation of this?
Actually, I'd like to know, as a foreigner, more about the history of Taiwan and the ethnic groups, because I heard a lot of people came from the Fujian province of China. So, I mean, technically speaking, couldn't you say that all of these guys are immigrants because they're not actually native people to the area? I mean all the Chinese that came are actually, you could say, quote, immigrants to the country. Although the definition might be a bit different now of what an immigrant is. But would you be able to tell me a little bit about the history of Taiwan's development of ethnic groups? I know here that maybe like for example the Hakka. Are they a native Aboriginal group in Taiwan? Are they? I know they're an ethnic group. Were they originally here in Taiwan?
I think just those native people in Taiwan can claim themselves to be native. Most of the Taiwanese right now are actually immigrants. Like 300 years ago,
Yep.
either from Fujian County or from the Canton County. So actually there were fights, right, between different groups then. So they actually fought for their land and fought to survive in Taiwan. And that's another reason why lots of native groups, the really Aboriginal people, need to move into the mountain area because the lands was grabbed by this immigrants from China then.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. That's pretty normal, that stuff like that, yeah. So were there many different Aboriginal ethnic groups here in Taiwan before the Chinese came over, like 300 years ago? Were there many or just a few? Do you know?
I think basically we Taiwanese usually say there are at least 9 different Aboriginal groups in Taiwan,
really?
and those are the famous ones. And actually these groups all live in an identical area, so they are separated in different regions in Taiwan already.
So did these native ethnic groups, did they peacefully coexist, or were there major wars, or did they have their little skirmishes, little arguments, or what? Do you have any idea about?
I think there were fights or arguments among these groups as well.
Right.
And the 9th group I just mentioned is actually, they also occupy the mountain area.
Mm-hmm.
So those who occupy the land, actually, we don't have the exact number because we lost their traces already. Because they probably died during the fight with those immigrants from China, or they also lost the battles to those 9 groups of groups.
And what about when the Chinese did come over? You were saying just then about how there were fights and how the population of the Aboriginals were decreasing.
Yes.
So have any tribes, original tribes, ethnic groups actually disappeared from Taiwan?
Yes, that's what I just said, because
They actually have disappeared, totally, really?
Yes. So those who used to live on the land rather than the mountain area kind of disappeared from the Taiwan's map then.
Okay.
And even for those who occupy the mountain area, because maybe those immigrants from China, they just want land, right, in Taiwan,
Yep.
so they can grew their crops and survive in Taiwan. That's the case. But later on, we also have, right, those armies from Japan, and they probably
Yep.
want other
Yep.
natural resources from Taiwan as well.
Right,
So
right.
at that time, right, there were fights, right, between the Japanese army and those.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of elderly people in Taiwan now that actually speak Japanese. I mean, they speak it well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So of course, right, then there were, right, immigrants, right, from Japan as well, but
Yep.
not much then.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit surprised, or how to put that way, because nowadays, right, most Taiwanese do have a bad feeling about some immigrants.